Shabbat Shalom, heart's delight, source of mercy. Draw your servant into your arms. I leap like a deer to stand in awe before you. Yedid nefesh av harachaman mishor chavedecha el retzonecha yarut hatecha emayal yishtachave el mul hadarecha Maher
Shabbat Shalom, Cantor Luck.
Good job, as Rabbi Bauer.
Very good to see you. So welcome to Shabbat, everyone. Right before we get into the candles, when we officially begin Shabbat, I want everyone to just kind of feel where you are right now. Take a big breath in and try to let go all of the stress of the week. If you'd like to follow along with us, and then actually, if you want to pull up another device, you can just type in virtual Mishkan Tefillah into Google, and you can pull up a digital prayer book, which you can follow along, or you can just be in your most comfortable chair and just really move from this regular time of the week as we move into this sacred time. And so now it is my honor to invite up Sophie Middleman and her family to lead us in the candles.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehalikneh shel Shabbat.
Amen. Thank you. So we're going to continue now as we turn to page 20 with Lecha Dodia. We welcome in Shabbat.
Shamor v'zachor v'dibor echad hishmi'anu el hamiuchad Adonai echad v'shemo l'shem u'tiveres u'tiveres v'nitzilah ay 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 nay nay ay nay 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 ay nay 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 l'chadodi likrat kala ay 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 nay nay ay nay 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 ay nay 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 ay nay nay b'nei Shabbat nekavela hitoreri ki yavaorech komi ori shadaber kevod Adonai alayich nigla ay 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 l'chadodi likrat kala ay 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 Boi v'shalom ateret ba'ala gam besimcha u'v'tzola toch emune am segula boi chala boi chala ay 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 lay 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 ay lay 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 ay 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 lechadod likrat kala ay 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 lay lay ay 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 nay 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 neshabat nekabela ay ay lay 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 ay lay 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 ay 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 lechadod likrat kala ay 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 nay nay ay nay 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 ay 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 nishabat nekabela.
Psalm, a song for Shabbat. It's good to praise Adonai, to sing hymns to your name, O Most High, to proclaim your steadfast love at daybreak, your faithfulness each night, with a 10-stringed harp, with voice and lyre together. You have gladdened me by your deeds, Adonai. I shout for joy at your handiwork. How great are your works, Adonai, how very subtle your designs. A brute cannot know, a fool cannot understand this. The righteous bloom like a date palm. They thrive like a cedar in Lebanon. Planted in the house of Adonai, they flourish in the courts of God. In old age, they still produce fruit. They're full of sap and freshness, attesting that Adonai is upright, my rock, in whom there is no wrong.
Tzadik katamar yifrach ke'erez balvanon yizkeh shetzulim bevet Adonai bechatzrot Eloheinu yafrichu od yenuvun b'seva deshenim verananim yiu lehagid ki ashar Adonai tzuri velo avlatabo.
And now we turn to page 24 as we move to Shalom Aleichem. And Shalom Aleichem, it's really about, when we talk about moving into this place of Shabbat, of letting go of all of the stress that came before us. And then we light the candles, we move into it. Shalom Aleichem is now saying we're now so elevated, it's if these angels are now bringing us in and elevating us to a new level. So wherever you're sitting, wherever you are right now, breathe in this new moment and feel yourself elevating as we move into Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Asharet, Malachei Elyon, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Boachem L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Baruch Hu Ni L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Tzedchem L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, ay, 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 day, 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 ay, day, 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 ay, 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 day, day, ay, day, day, ay, 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 day, day, ay, day, 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 ay, ay.
Cantor, every single time that you sing that, you remind me of a few years ago. Cantor, Luck, and I, it felt like 500 kids camping out into the East Bay. And,
It did feel like 500 kids.
It's probably 1,000. We just had them under that control, so it only felt like 500.
It was 1,500.
That is clergy counting right there. And we had all the kids say, get all your energy out, everything that you're feeling from the week. And Cantor Luck was playing that exact Shalom Aleichem. And he said, now when you're ready, when you're really ready to be in Shabbat, then come back. And they're all running over the fields. And then it slowly slows down. And as they all arrive, and just like right now, and it's reminding me of it because it's the time of year where the sun is staying up longer, this calm came over everyone. And then everyone shifted and they all faced east, thinking that there were probably kids around the world who were getting ready for Shabbat who had just finished running and also finally slowed down and stopped and then faced east. And then we're ready for the Baruch Hu. And so if you feel like you're finally calmed down, I'm going to invite you to turn to page 28, to rise if that's comfortable for you, and join us in the Baruch Hu.
Hi, lai, 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 lai. 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 Hi, lai, 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 lai. Hi, lai, 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 lai. Hi, lai, 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 lai. Barichu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Vaed. Ay lay 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 ay lay 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 ay lay 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 ay lay lay ay lay 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 ay lay 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 ay
Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives to us. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives from it? Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. I'm going to invite everyone to take a big deep breath in and take 3 fingers and to cover your eyes as we move into the Shema. Israel Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kivod Shem Kivod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. If you're standing, I invite you to be seated, and we're going to turn to page 36 for the V'ahavta.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
So we move now to page 40 with Mi Chamocha. And Mi Chamocha, it's a celebration. But it's a celebration about an in-between time, because we talk about slavery in Egypt, and then we talk about freedom. And even though we're celebrating in the sea, it's an important section the rabbis put in, because we're going to celebrate it in some other place, but the sea is this temporary in-between space when we go from the darkest of our pain, but we're still not totally where we need to be, which is Sinai. And so we stop right there in that moment of that in-between spot. And if we think about where our country is right now, it's that in-between spot. And you know you're not there but you still are appreciative for the moment that you're in.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot oseh pele, nora tehilot oseh pele, malchutecha ra'uvanecha v'keyayam lifnei Moshe Miriam zeli, anu ve'ameru, anu ve'ameru, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, yailai, ayailai, ונאמר כברך יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גל ישראל.
We reach the point in our service where we move to the Misha Berach, the blessing for those who are in need of healing. As a and before I read who we are thinking of as a congregation, if you are also praying for someone who is in need of healing, either of body or of spirit, I invite you to type their name into the chat. That's the first thing I want you to type. And the second thing I'm going to need you to do is after the service, well, you can do it now too, I guess, is that I would like you to call those people and just to tell them, listen, I'm praying for you and I'm thinking about you. The important part is that people know that they're not alone and that we are praying for them. As a community, we're praying for Susan Cole, Frank Friedman, Ruth Rishin, Rusty Holden, Lauren Knickerbocker, Terry Borer, Marco Friedman, Sonia Gordon, Mike Foley, Emma Stievelman, Monica Bunchnik, Susan Foley, Judy Nadell, Roger Rogelio Salazar, Rick Gluck, Musa Busina. Mishaberach Abotenu v'imotenu, Avraham Yitzhak v'Yaakov, Sarah Rivka Rechav Leahu Yivarech et HaCholim. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal those who are ill. May the blessed Holy One be filled with compassion for their health to be restored and their strength to be revived. May God swiftly send them a complete renewal of body and a complete renewal of spirit. And let us all say amen.
Mi sheberach avotenu mekol habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Imotenu bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
We're going to continue now with Vishamru, which is literally just this reminder that our job now is to keep Shabbat. All week long we do, and then we're reminded now it's time to be.
Vishamru b'nei Yisroel et לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. השמיים ואת הארץ. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, וביום השביעי שבת ויהי
So now we move to the very highest point of our service, which is the Amidah. So I'm going to invite you to rise if you are comfortable rising. If it's better for you to stay exactly where you are, I'm going to invite you to stay where you are.
Adonai sefartai tiftach ulfi yagid tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu v'Imoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah האל הגדול הגיבור והנורא אל עליון גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה, אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישוע, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה הכל, אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש, אתה קדוש ליום השביעי. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, השים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, השים לעולם. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום, כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, השים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, השים לעולם. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל, בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. Hasim Leolam.
What a week it has been. The common thread in most articles one would read or interviews people gave was that there's a collective sigh of relief. We saw celebrations and chanting in the streets. And this celebration, it has not sat well with me. Now, the national reaction to the George Floyd murder, it was not just about one man, but rather the culmination of so many videos and incidents of Black lives being snuffed out by bad police. And I want to be clear, this is about bad policing. I want to be clear that most police are not bad. The mass majority, they go into this line of duty because that is what it is. It's a duty. It's not a job. It's a duty to serve. I've talked to San Francisco Police Department officers in this past year in private, and the pain that they have gone through because of people like Derek Chauvin. This has been a year of pain. And what Chauvin did, which was caught in raw, painful video, it tore at our nation. But the celebration and the relief that met this conviction, it made sense on one hand. I mean, I remember when I was a young teen and Rodney King was beaten on video and the police, they were not convicted. It felt as if they were above the law. But now my kids are in their early teens and they see a police officer murdering a man and he is convicted. That is a change in something worth celebrating. And I was happy that there was accountability. I was relieved that there were not riots in the street, but there's a line that has been circulating that there's been accountability, but there has not been justice. This is why the jubilation, as if it was over, it made me uncomfortable because there was something fundamentally missing. In all of this trial, I feel as if the larger truth has been forgotten because our sole focus has been on an individual and not the system. An individual, thank God, was held accountable. But is the system capable of ensuring justice? Now, before I go any further, I want you to think for a moment and to think about the narrative that comes to you about the George Floyd case. What memory do you have? What happened? What was the atrocity? And then ask yourself, is your memory accurate? Now, I'm a rabbi, so I see things with a Jewish lens. I can't help it. It's my bias. Judaism is based in memory and text. And using text, it makes sure we are tied to the original memory. Because time passes, humans change the story. It's how our brains are wired. John Lehrer, the popular neuroscience writer, he reported on some scientific findings regarding the reconsolidation theory of memory retrieval, which argues that every time a memory is recalled, the brain needs to recreate the memory, just as it did when the memory was originally formed. Now, this theory is counter to every theory that has come before since the time of the ancient Greeks. People have imagined memories to be a stable form of information that persists reliably. Almost like when we take a digital picture and we pull up the JPEG 5 years later, the ones and the zeros, they translate into a perfect picture that recreates that moment pixel for pixel. For thousands of years, the theory has been that once a memory is formed, it'll stay the same. This is why we trust our recollections and memories. When we think back to our experiences as kids or growing up in our homes, and we may talk about these memories and these recollections with families, with friends, or in therapy. And we may spend year after year recounting that one persistent memory that is so vivid, it feels as if we're back in that moment. And at first glance, as a Jew, I find this research unsettling because we're people who are deeply entrenched in our own narrative and our communal memory. But how accurate is our narrative and our memory if the research shows that when we remember, we are not tapping the past, but we are recreating the present? Now, the rabbis knew how our brains worked and the fact that our individual memories were not accurate. No, they didn't know that all of our memories begin as a changed set of connections among the cells in one's brains. And if you're able to remember a moment, or this sentence where you're sitting right now, it's because of a network of neurons that has been altered, woven together in an electrical fabric. They had no idea about this science. But what they did know is that left to our own devices, we would recreate the past to have it reflect our present. They compensated for this by creating a system for us to communally recall our past through the annual public recitation of the Torah. When we read the Torah, there are very strict rules on how we read it. First, when a person is chanting, there is always at least one gabbai next to them, double checking their reading with a set of vowels to make sure that the story the reader is saying is 100% accurate to how it occurs in the text. Secondly, anytime a person speaks off the cuff or adds commentary or shares something else that they wrote, we are required to roll the Torah closed, place the cover on top of it, and then the person speaks, so as not to give the impression that the person's words are the words of the Torah, but rather her own words. So every Shabbat morning, when we recreate that communal memory based on our narrative, we, and by we, I mean Jews all over the world, are trying to have the same experience. That does not mean that we do not add new interpretations and understandings of the text. That's encouraged. But we want to be sure that we make a delineation between what actually happened in the Torah and our individually created commentary on what happened in the Torah. So what is the truth? What is the text of what happened to George Floyd? And why is that so important? Because if you really want to make radical change, you need the entire story. You need the text. And we all know that Chauvin kneeled on George Floyd's neck for 9 minutes, even after he had murdered him. But that's only part of the story. Chauvin is a murderer. But to think that this is only about him means that we are going to miss out on a true opportunity to make change. This is what happened right after Floyd was murdered. This is what was shared from the Minneapolis Police Department. 2 officers arrived and located the suspect, a male believed to be in his 40s, in his car. He was ordered to step from his car after he got out. He physically resisted officers. Officers were able to get the suspect into handcuffs and noted he appeared to be suffering medical distress. Officers called for an ambulance. He was transported to Hennepin County Medical Center by ambulance, where he died a short time later. That is the text. And if that's all that I knew of the text, there is no wrongdoing on the police's part. It's just a medical issue. But you see, there's another text that has changed everything. Darnella Frazier, a 17-year-old who held up her cell phone to show the raw text of what really happened. Her video, it's strikingly different from what Minneapolis police reported. Now, her video, it may have focused on Derek Chauvin and shone light on the darkness of his deeds, but her videos also shone light on a system where a report would be written hours later that said that the man was just in medical distress. We cannot forget the darkness that a text was given to the public that was a lie. If we just rely on our memories, we would have forgotten the larger text that showed not just a bad officer, but a broken system. We're taught in Judaism not to look away from the darkness and the pain, but to embrace it, because that is the only way change can occur. Now, this is a core concept in Judaism, that you must go into the darkness and look at the darkness, and only then can you squeeze light from that darkness. Now, this idea is built into the fabric of Judaism. On Passover, just 27 days ago, we began the story with talking about the pain and the bitterness and the tears. We consumed horseradish to make sure that it was not an intellectual exercise, but a physical sensation of pain. We dip that parsley in salt water to remember what it is like when you cry so hard, your tears, they reach your tongue. And that saltiness is a reminder of the depths of sadness. And this is how we begin our Seder. But if I ask any of you, what is Passover about? The answer is freedom. Because we embrace the darkness and we move through darkness, we take that narrative and we squeeze light out of it. And then we joyously yell, "Next year in Jerusalem." And we celebrate freedom. Passover, it's a holiday about celebrating freedom, but we can only do that if we know the truth of the whole story. In Israel, we just commemorated Yom HaShoah, remembering the 6 million killed in the Holocaust. But that was not the whole story, because then a week later, the tears flowed in Israel, remembering all of the people killed in defending and creating the state of Israel that would protect the Jews from never being exterminated again. And it was only then, after staring the painful truth in the face and marinating in the darkness, that as the sun sets on Yom HaZikaron, on that Memorial Day, that fireworks are then launched into the sky to celebrate Yom HaAtzmaut, the independence of Israel. You cannot celebrate the light of Israel without being in the darkness of the journey that came before. Yes, Passover was 27 days ago, but we're not done journeying. We are journeying to Sinai for day 49, and they are inextricably linked, from darkness to freedom to mission. Sinai was where we got the Torah and told us where we were going, both ethically and morally in the world. One cannot stop at celebrating that they are free from Egypt. One must continue forward to Sinai to see the grander picture of how you change the world into a place of morality and ethics. When I was my kid's age, Rodney King was beaten and no one was convicted. And now my kids see this in their generation and they see a conviction. We are headed in the right direction, but we're not at Sinai. We're not there yet. But we are marching in the right direction. We as a nation would be remiss if we thought we had succeeded. We haven't. Accountability was served, but we're not at justice yet. Good police officers stood up and explained in court that what Chauvin had done was wrong. And the police department had issued a statement covering up a murder. And the police chief stood up against his own officer. All are true. And we have a long way to go. But we will only get to a place of light if we can squeeze everything we can out of this darkness. Can you hear it, son?
If my voice were louder, if my body stronger, I would tear through the streets, shouting peace, 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 peace. If my voice were louder, if my body's stronger, I would tear through the streets shouting peace, 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 peace. Wat ich gehabt koyach, wat ich gelotten in de Gassen, wat ich geschrien in Scholem, 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 Scholem. Wat ich gehabt koyach, wat ich gelotten in de Gassen, wat ich geschrien in Scholem, 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 Scholem. Wat ich gehad koyach, wat ich gelotten in de Gassen, wat ich geschrien in Scholem, 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 Scholem.
We reach the point in our service when we remember those who are no longer with us. We remember those who passed away in the last 30 days. Adele Reich, Maureen Axelbaum, Edward Green, Marilyn Max Mindell, Jerry Balin, Steffi Tick, Jane Naidoo, Itzik Ben Sosia, Harriet Sachs, Lady Marion Marks, and Brian Eisen. We remember those whose yahrzeit, whose passing falls on this Shabbat. Ethel Alpert, Stanley O. Altschiller, Yitzhak Ben Avraham, Cloud Bear, Dorothy F. Baum, Estelle Burks, Luis G. Bilo, Richard Arthur Brenner, Mildred Rubenstein Cassie, Erwin Harold Chesson, Helen Chaim Cohen, Jacob Aaron Dehovitz, Evelyn L. Denenbein, Reva Ehrlich, Betty M. Eisendrath, Alan Fendrick, Ethel F. Firestone, Harold Freed, Helen Freed, Barbara Himson Fromer, Hannah Gallerstein, Dennis Gallagher, David Gershberg, Alice Gothoff, Judith Green, Patricia Hamrick, Alice Havner, Stanley Herstein, Irvin E. Jonah, Rosa Lewin Kurtz, Alan Lewis, Ruth G. Liskey, David Levitz, Barbara Manis, Harvey Masonic, Hildegard Mayer, Philip Mitter Perel, Francis Edemeth, Emmanuel Samuel Meth, Dr. Haikema Molam, Simon Walter Newman, Hinda Padot, Henry Phillips, Hilda Powell, Isaac Pritkin, Paul Rosen, Anne Rubinchik, Pearl Rudin, Marvin Schaps, Media Lang Scheinfeld, Elaine Stoloff Schrag, Pauline Cohen Silverman, Philip Stouffer, Joan Titus, Mildred Wexelblatt, and Catherine White. If there's someone else who you are remembering who has passed away in the last week, in the last month, in the last year, or this is the yahrzeit, the anniversary of their passing, I invite you to type their name into the chat and please tell us what your relation is to them. I'm on page 598. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabbah, v'yamah divrach chiyotei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, v'agla uvizman kariv v'imru, amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach le'alam amei amaya, yitbarak v'yishtabach v'yitbar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudisha brichu, Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechamata damiran b'yama b'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael b'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael b'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all of Israel, and to all of humanity. And let us all say amen.
V'imru, 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 amen.
So a few announcements coming up. If you go to our website at emmanuelsf.org, you'll see all the upcoming events, as well as I just want to bring your attention to our resiliency series coming up. And now I'm going to invite our cantor to lead us in the Kiddush.
Actually, our bat mitzvah is going to lead us in Kiddush. So if the Middleman
It's a lucky night.
can turn their camera
she
back
goes.
on, we are so overjoyed and cannot wait to celebrate with you tomorrow. And in the meantime, go ahead. Oh, you disappeared. Maybe you didn't disappear. You disappeared on my screen. I hope you're still there. What I want you to do is make sure your screen is on and lift up that Kiddush cup and lead us in Kiddush.
Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech hatzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava u'ratzon, hin hilanu, zikaron lema'aseh bereshit, ki hu yom tehila, Lemikra kodes, zeher litzion mitzrayim, kivanu v'horta, ve'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'avad kodeshaha, ba'ahava u'ratzon, hin heltanu, baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Amen. Thank you, Sophia, and Mazel Tov.
Mazel tov. Now, Cantor,
Rabbi.
may I show you my challah creation today?
I don't know. Should I be concerned?
It's not the prettiest one I've made.
Okay.
I was kind of
Just
busy finishing a sermon hypothetically. So this is what we got tonight. Let me see here. It's big. Here we go. This is
Wow.
right there.
That challah is so big that it's messing with your digital background.
Really? No, I'm in the main sanctuary.
Incredible.
Would you like to lead us or would you like me to lead?
I would love for you to lead, and then we'll sing a little closing song.
So I invite everyone here, hopefully, if you have a challah at home, to grab the challah and to join me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'te'avon.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat
If you are watching
Shalom.
this stream with somebody else, you can put your arm around that person's shoulder. If you are by yourself, like us, know that we see you and you see us. We are a Kehila Kedosha. We are a sacred community, and we pray for peace together. Ose Shalom Bimromar Uyase Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael Ve'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel Ve'imru Amen. Ose Shalom Bimromar Uyase Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael Ve'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel Ve'imru Amen. Ya la 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 la. Oh ya la 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 la. Yo say shalom bimromar, Uya say shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru. Amen. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, Cantor.